We have another site, Land of Nod, which sells children's furniture, and this site leverages stories from people who are designers of children's furniture, but those stories are very different. They're not like how you're going to design a kid's room. They have very personal details. If you read them, there are specific names. So it almost seems like they curate that content from that group of people, and it does make a difference for their marketing as they report in the industry. Sattvametrics is an interesting site as well that produces great infographics that educate people about sleep. They also produce content for reviews specifically and for PR. So it's a good one to look into. And here is an example of what kind of content they produce and what drives their strategy. So, but what happens? I mean, what are the 4 fundamentals of content marketing for e-commerce that you need to have in your program? Well, first of all, your program must be scalable and programmatic. In other words, you need to create significant volume of content. It might be challenging for e-commerce because you might have thousands or millions of products, and not all of that content could be interesting or easy to produce. But you can still focus on the top sellers, top drivers, most interesting products to create enough volume to make a difference. You might also find that it could be challenging to be truly creative with content production. Even if you pick top brands and products, some of them are crazy boring to come up with creative copy, unless you are the guys like the ones from Wet19 that can make a mug super funny, or you can hire some comedians, which actually Groupon did when they were getting really popular. Now, your content also should be inspiring and engaging. You cannot do it half-heartedly because if people cannot buy into your content, if they don't buy into your message, they're not going to buy your product. So you need to have rigorous quality control here as well, even if you're going to do it at scale. And then you do need to be consistent with your content production. You need to do it all the time. You can't just stop it because otherwise it will stop working as a pipeline. And you also need to create a balance of commerce and related interests. I have an example here with Birchbox. They do talk about beauty products and how you use makeup and what this specific makeup is for. But sometimes they also touch questions in the world that speak about important issues like women's self-image in some countries. I mean, did you know that women in North Korea only can choose from 18 haircuts? And so they share interesting stats and information like that. It shows that they value their customers, primarily women, and it does help them connect to their customers on a deeper level. So how do you solve for creative genius and engagement? Well, you can observe and learn from the sites that I shared above, but I also suggest to look at the rising media sites like BuzzFeed and Newsworthy, because they're the ones that come up with really viral content, and you can learn a lot from them. They're on the cusp to emulate from before the rest of the industry and the e-commerce industry will catch up. You also need to have a daily habit of curating your topics, and tools like Scoopit, NewsBlur, or even Google Alerts can help you to do so. Or like if you have a team, like with One Kings Lane, you can have a curation team to make it happen. Now, sometimes you cannot be creative on demand, and so I suggest using Smart Marketing Checklist. In fact, this is something that I developed and I share in my book. It consists of 15 different qualifiers, And the reason I created it for myself in the industry is that sometimes you need to do quality check on the marketing assets that you produce. And so this list, it consists of 15 of those, is a good cheat sheet to use. So for example, you have a set of articles, and I did it for one of the affiliate sites. And in order to have a sanity check, I would ask questions. Is this creative enough? Does it spark interest, grabs attention? How human is this piece of content? What emotional or cognitive triggers does it fire up? Is it memorable? What story would I want my audience to live with? Can I share it? Is it collaborative, referential? Where can I use it? Where I can integrate it? Does it actually convert people? Is there a reasonable call to action? And based on what data, I use it and make assumptions in this content piece and so forth. So this content checklist is available to you without buying the book. The link is below, so you can just use it and get this 2-pager. Now, how do you solve for consistency and balance? Well, that means you actually need to do work. And that means using some processes like having an editorial calendar, which would allow you for programming. And you can use some of the data on your best sellers, competitions, and areas from shopping experience of your customers, some seasonal events, or promotional events and live events to come up with seasonal content and program it through the year, through the months. You also need, as I mentioned, have some kind of curation engine set up, which is using tools like Scoopit, NewsBlur, or the team, even maybe hiring someone on Elance to do it for you if you're of bigger scale. And then you can leverage smart marketing checklists throughout the process. You can use it even while you're coming up with editorial calendar, while you're developing the habit of curation, and while you're working on assessing the quality of work that your production team is doing. And that's a very important piece for content program for e-commerce. You do need to have production team to produce enough volume. And vendors like eZdia do offer this functionality and ability to make it easy for you and manageable. But again, you need to have significant volume. This is what mostly missed by e-commerce. Just having a blog is not enough. Just producing a few videos is not enough. You need to have significant volume and play with it and experiment with it to see what sticks and how you can dial it up.